Hey, pop stars, welcome to this week's episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. Thank you for joining us. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
This week's episode is sponsored by Drive Time Racing Sports Bar and Grill. Wow, that's a mouthful. Come check us out. Not only do they have great indoor gaming facility with all the video games you can imagine, bowling alleys, and great food, also have everything from bumper cars to go-karts and a full-size racetrack where they offer lessons for those who want to make their professional race car driving dreams come true. For the location closest to you, check out dtrsg.racing. Tammy, you like driving? You have race car fantasies? You drive? You're not a fast driver, are you?
Uh, I'm not as fast as you are, Eddie. But I used to be. My car is not the type of car where I can like speed down the highway and everything like that. It takes a minute before it revs up. But I did have it was on my bucket list to actually drive um to speed race, like the Fast and the Furious kind of thing. Now, I would never do it in reality, but I have had dreams of me actually being behind the wheel and just going and just 0 to 60 in whatever seconds.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Once I just get in a car and get a feel for the car, I just find myself being like a Mario Andretti behind the wheel. That's just my natural speed. I don't know what it is, but I'm a very safe driver, but I do drive fast. And I have to kind of check it when other people are in the car with me because and it makes me nervous. They don't realize the last person in a car you want to be nervous is the driver, but when people are like, "Oh," I'm like, "Will you calm the fuck down? You're freaking me out. Like what? Like what happened?"
Or when
So
they're like pressing their imaginary brake.
yeah, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" And they're like, "I'm like, I see the car. Shut up."
I had to
So
learn very, very quickly being in the car with you to just let you go. It's fine. Like my stepdad was a very fast driver as well. So he kind of had to learn like really early. My mom used to push on the fake brake all the time. So I kind of just had to let him drive because he was always perfect on stopping before he ever hit anybody. So I was just
thank
be
you.
like, that's just how he drives. Like he's
Yeah,
good.
yeah, I'm like, I am actually a very safe driver. I'm not gonna say I've never had an accident, but I try to be safe. I always use my blinkers and courteous driver, and I try not to tailgate and all that kind of stuff. So. But yeah, I would love, like, I love playing racing video games, and I would love to be able to just get in a car on an open or closed track and just be able to drive with a professional. I don't want to. But yeah, that would be cool. Anyway, speaking of driving, this week we find out what happens when you get a dreamer, a has been, and an idealist to work together to turn their racing dream, their combined racing dream, into a reality that only fantasies are made of. As we hit the races with Gran Turismo, based on the video game, and the story is based on a true story of a gamer, Jann Mardenborough, who, against all odds, fulfills his dream of becoming a professional race car driver with a little help from his friends. So, Tammy, what did you think of Gran Turismo? Did it take the checkered flag, or did it crash and burn?
I loved it. I loved it. Like it bring like we just had the conversation about racing and like I went with a friend to go see it, and I remember like leaning over afterwards and telling her like the story of how it made me want to go see NASCAR. Now, I am not necessarily a fan of being in the environment of NASCAR, but if NASCAR wasn't as problematic as it is, I would love to go because when I was in high school, I went to a vocational technical high school, and at one point we got to spend a grading cycle with in different VOTEC classes, and one of them that I picked, although I knew nothing about cars, was auto mechanics. And while I was there, we went on a trip to local racing, and it was so, the rush. I can't think of the word, but adrenaline. It was so like fun, and I like loved just watching it, and it was exciting, and it made me want to go see NASCAR at least once in my life. I guess I put it on my bucket list, but it just brought that rush back. Like, it was so exciting, edge of my seat. Like, I did not know what was going to happen because I didn't know the story. So I was really, really entertained watching this movie. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with you on several things. NASCAR is on my list. I'm a big sports fan, so I've always said that I would love to go to one of the big NASCAR races, like just once, just to experience it, the Daytona 500 or something like that. Even Formula One racing or the Indy 500 or one of the big Grand Prix races. Would love to see Lewis Hamilton race in person before he retires or something like that. But yeah, I get it. What you said also, I think one of the big red flags is just how toxic the environment at a NASCAR race can be. And for those who say it's not, yeah, you've heard the stories, you've heard from people who were there, who have said that it's not all that welcoming or inclusive. So, which is a shame. I think the sport would be so much more popular if it were a little bit more inclusive. But anyway, um, but yeah, and I love playing video games. I think driving games have always been my favorite video games. And so um I wasn't uh I kind of wanted to see it just to see what it was like. I didn't when it first came out and I was like Gran Turismo, I'm like, oh, okay, based on the video game. I thought it was just gonna be something like that. I honestly did not realize that it was based on a true story either. Um, and so I was like, so it's just going to be one of those things. I thought, oh, okay, I'll just go see it for the fun because I like the game, whatever. And then, and I like racing games. And then, sitting in the movie theater over the summer, that trailer seemed to be everywhere. And the first one was like, oh, okay. And then the more you saw the trailer, like the different trailer releases, you're like, oh shit, this might actually be pretty good. And once I saw the movie, so by the time I saw the last trailer, I was already all in on going to see the movie and praying that it was as good as it looked in the trailer. And it did not disappoint. It really was good. And just to see the story, um, and of course, some of it was fictionalized. Like I said, I'm not familiar enough with Jann Mardenborough's life to know what was fact and what was fiction. And I got delayed from looking it up. Thanks, Rona. But so I really, really enjoyed the story. One of the things I loved is what did you think about the cast?
I thought it was believable casting. Like, now, granted, once again, I did not know this was actually a real story until I was already in the theater. So it wasn't like I went and I was just like, oh, okay, so this is what the real person looks like. Because I do that sometimes ahead of time before I actually watch the movie or the TV show or anything like that. So because I did not know that ahead of time, I went in blind. So just based on that, I considered all of the characters to actually be very, very believable in their roles, or all of the actors to be very believable in the roles that they had. I didn't see anybody that was kind of like a weak link on pushing the story forward. If that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I love the cast. I'm with you. I think it was really well cast. I love David Harbour, who plays Jack Salter. Guy from Stranger Things. He was great. I love to see him just about anything he's in. And the guy who played Jan, Archie Madekwe, I don't know if I'm probably messing up his name, but forgive me. I thought he was really great in it. I'm good on Orlando Bloom. The luster has worn off since the original Pirates in those days, but he was good. I think he did a good job in his role, and uh, I really liked seeing Darren Bennett in something besides Never Have I Ever, um, and of course Jarman Hansu. But the surprise, do you know who the mom was?
Ginger Spice.
Yes, I was like, shut the front door. I did not even recognize it.
So
I'm not gonna say I was ever just like the biggest Spice Girl fans. I think the only ones I probably could have recognized were Victoria Beckham, Posh Spice, and who was the see, I can't even remember the
Scary
name now.
Spice.
That it's scary,
Scary
yeah,
Spice.
Scary Spice, but that's it. Like I'm like, okay, but I had no idea that that was the mom.
So I'm gonna be honest and say I had no idea either. I literally just pulled up the cast and I'm going down and I see her name, Jerry Hollowell, and I'm just like, that's Ginger Spice. Like
Yeah,
I just saw it. Like I'm literally looking at my iPad and I was just like, that's Ginger Spice name. And I said, oh, that is Ginger Spice. So yeah, I just learned it myself, like literally right now. I did not recognize it right then and there. And I was a huge Spice Girl fan. Huge Spice Girl fan. Kind of sad I never got to see them in concert when they did the reunion. When they did their reunion tour. But yeah. So I was just like, okay, Ginger, I see you, boo.
yeah. So I was like, when I found, and like I said, in the movie, I didn't recognize it. I recognized it when I was doing prep for the show and the cast and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And I'm like, shut the front door. And then when I looked, I'm like, yeah, that's her.
Yep, that
And
is her.
so I was like, okay, that's cool. And just if you watch the end credits, the real Jan Mardenborough, Mardenborough was actually the stunt car driver. So he did a lot of the driving and the stunts in the movie. So I was like, okay. So I thought I imagined that was pretty cool. But yeah, I'm with you. I thought the casting was very believable. And I think I liked that even though David Harbour is a popular actor, he and he's that guy. Unless like you're a huge fan, he's an actor that people would go, oh, he's that guy from that show.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? In Orlando Bloom, it, we know who he is, but it's not like he's in his heyday. So let me say this before I mess up the thought completely. I think I like that it wasn't just teaming with um, A-listers. I think that kind of made it more. I'm not going to say more believable, but it made it more.
Real. Like you could
Yeah,
actually focus on the acting and the storyline. You didn't have to focus on who was in the movie. It was about what was the movie about.
yeah. So it made it more, and I guess believable would be. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words today. I think my brain is still fried, but it kind of gave it this comfort blanket feel. Does that make sense? More it Yeah. So we'll just go back to what you said. Made it more real, a little bit more believable, a little bit more endearing, I guess.
That's a good
Because
one.
you're not worried about this trying to be on someone's Oscar bait reel or something like that, or it just kind of, and it kind of gave way to, unless you are a huge racing fan and you knew the story, um, most of us didn't know who Jan Mardenborough was, or don't know who he is, and probably have never seen him race or known that we've seen him race, or knew that he started off as a kid playing video games, and through his love and his how good he was at video games, actually landed him a shot to get behind a real race car. So I think that kind of fit the story of it not having any big names to playing this guy who, it's not like it was the Lewis Hamilton story, and there's pressure to find someone who could be like Lewis Hamilton, if that makes sense. So yeah, I kind of appreciated it. It made it a little bit more endearing to me. What did you think about the story overall?
Like it goes with the same thing as the movie as a whole. It was very, very interesting and it caught me from beginning to end. Like I was on the edge of my seat. Especially when got into the academy. Like he gets into the academy, he's racing against what was the guy's name? Maddie. He's racing against Maddie, and you're just like thinking like, okay, it's gonna be Maddie, it's gonna be Maddie, but you know it's not gonna be Maddie because the story's not about Maddie. So I'm like, how are they gonna flip this now where Jann comes in first place? And that scene with them racing, and it was literally like a second off of each other, and I was just like, like, this is good. This is good. Like, I like sat up for that one. I put my seat down, my comfort, the leg up thing. I put it down just so I could focus on like, how are we gonna get this done, and how is Jann gonna be number one? And then when he actually becomes a race car driver, and the many races that he has, like it was always surprising on the scenes, because yeah, it was just really surprising on the scenes. Like, I thought that it just kept me on the edge of my seat because I did not know what was going to happen. Like, I didn't know if this was going to end up being a sad story, or was he actually going to end up on the podium, and how is he going to get to the podium? It's just so many questions in my head when I was watching this movie, but I was like so invested. That's it. I was so invested in Jan's story, of how he was going to kick all their butts and prove to everybody that he deserved to be there, that he was actually really good. And like, I loved how ultimately he did prove on how amazing he was, and he did get up on the podium. And the race to get to the podium, with the three drivers, I thought that was amazing. I thought that was absolutely amazing.
Oh, gosh, the Le Mans, the Grand Prix, the one in
Yeah.
in France, in
Like,
Paris, or in France.
24 hours. And my friend
Yeah.
who was next to me was telling me, like, because she knows more about race car driving than I do, like, she actually watches and everything like that. So she was like letting me know. She was like, oh no, that's real. And she was like, oh wait, I know this race. And she was like keeping me like, because I'm a talker in the movies, but she would like let me know the like what was real. And she was just like, oh no, this really happened. And I said, wait, they're really gonna drive for 24 hours? And she's just like, yes.
Yeah.
She was like, they really drive for 24 hours straight. And so like, she was even excited when they actually showed it, and she was just like, this is like so good. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was awesome. Like, the storyline, the movie, and just as a whole was really, really good, kept you on the edge of your seat. Like, NASCAR driving is like, well, not just NASCAR, but like race car driving is that's really that's something that can shut your brain off. It's like going to the movies.
Yeah. Like, and it's what it like, and that's what I think. Like, sometimes I've tried watching NASCAR on TV, right?
Hmm.
But to me, it's kind of like golf. Like, I have no desire to watch a golf match. I really don't. But or hockey. Hockey would be better than golf. I would go to a professional golfing event if I had the opportunity, just to say I went to as a sportsman to experience it. But hockey is a game, is a sport that I really enjoy. It's just harder for me to focus on it on TV because it's one of those sports
Hmm.
I feel like it's
You got to
just
be there.
better in person. And the same with NASCAR. Like, it keeps my attention for so long, and then after a while, it's like, okay, how many times can I watch the cars to go around and around? But one of the things I appreciate about this is you got to see. I love when they showed the training first of all, right?
Hmm.
Because it shows that, hey, these guys are real athletes, and it's more. It takes more, especially in those type of cars, the types of cars that they were racing. It takes more than just sitting in that car. Like, they're going so fast, and they have to train their bodies, and they have to train their minds. And it's a game of, it's almost like chess, one wrong turn, if you pass the person at the
And
wrong
you're
place,
done.
you're done. If it's a throttle, and the danger involved, like the intrigue. So it is really a game of one upsmanship, and you've got to be careful, because every time you get behind that wheel, like, and we know this because when you get your driver's license, first thing your mom tells you is, when you get behind that wheel, you're putting your life in your hands and the other drivers. And not only do you have to drive for you, you have to drive for yourself. When race car driving, it's nowhere it becomes truly, truly evident, And so I loved the training scenes. I thought they were really well done. And especially, like, I love the relationship between Jan and Jack. And Jack was like, he was old school. He had been at the top of his game. and then he just kind of disappeared for reasons that we find out later. And he was pitting, or he was crewing for these other racers who thought he was all washed up. And so I love that they kind of brought out the best of in each other, and the relationship that they formed. Was it became, first it was, okay, we have to find a way to work with each other. Then it was something more of respect, and then that trust and that friendship. And I loved seeing that. But went back to that first where he had to race Maddie to see who was going to represent Nissan at the on the Grand Prix circuit, on the racing circuit. I loved when Jack went to bat for him, because Danny wanted to give it to Maddie, who was more appealing. Danny was better with the press. He was more charismatic. Danny could sell. Danny was more marketable than Jann, right? Who is just this aloof, goofy gamer, but who was damn good at racing. Who didn't have the same charisma, who wasn't all that great with the press, who was kind of shy and awkward versus Maddie. And so Jack was like, and Jack at first, he was so against it. He's like, none of them are going to make it. And then I guess as he saw them drive, it's like, okay. He's like, nope, run it back, run it back, run it back. Like, he's like, there, that's where you see Jann won the race. And like you said, it just came down to like a second or a millisecond. And it was like, okay, so how are we going to go from here? How are they going to get him to be an actual racer? And how are, the things that go, the things that get involved in it? And how are he and Jack now going to get along, and how is this going to happen? So I'm with you. I was really intrigued by it all, and I was happy that we got a taste of what the Le Mans was like. I remember a while back, when they used to show more racing, they would actually come in and show parts of the Le Mans on I don't know if it was Saturday or whatever. I don't think they showed the whole 24 hours, but they would come in like Saturday and Sunday and show the parts of the races on TV. So I was like, okay. But yeah, it was just really, really interesting. And I love that he kind of like, he had to overcome the odds because his brother was the soccer, or the football, as they call it, on the other side of the pond. But his brother was the soccer star and following his dad's footsteps, and his dad was so supportive of that. Not that he wanted a mini me, but I guess in his dad's eyes, his younger brother, had a goal or a dream that was more tangible, something he could understand. And his dad just saw what he did as sitting around gaming all day, like, all the times he kept trying to get him out of the house and stuff like that. And then when he took him down to the rail yard, and he was like, this is where you're going to be if you don't get your head out of your ass or out of the clouds and go back to school and all of that kind of stuff. What did you think about his relationship with his family and his dad?
He was his mother's son. You could tell, like, the younger brother was the father's son, and he was his mother's son. And his bond was, he was closer to his mother than he was to his father. And there's things within the movie that goes towards that. On one thing is that what he wanted to do in his dream and what he wanted to achieve in his future, his father just could not see it. It was not something, like you said, that was tangible. It was not something that he felt there was enough success in people becoming race car drivers that he could actually achieve that himself. And what, unlike his brother, like you said, was a good soccer player. So because he was really, really good, his father could see it because he had the skill as well. And you could see on TV the amount of people who were successful. The percentage of people who are successful in race car driving is very, very small compared to successful soccer players. And so I think I fully understand why him and his father didn't have the best relationship. But I will say, unlike in other movies, when it comes to like storylines like this, there was never a question about his father loving him, and about his father being in his life and helping to raise him. So it wasn't like it was just him and his mom and his dad was just there, just focused on his brother. No, his dad focused on him just like he focused on the brother. And I really, really like that because sometimes in these types of movies, it's kind of like you want to make it seem that, oh, he's just rebelling and he doesn't have that great relationship with his father. But the only thing that was between him and his father was just his dream that his father could not see. But once he saw it, he was all in. Like he was in support of his son. Like he was just like, look, I don't agree with it. I don't want you to go, but go ahead, get it done. But you know, this job will be here when you fail, kind of thing. And when he saw that he was going to be successful, like he stuck with it. Like he was supportive of him, just like his mom was. And I thought that was a really great part of the storyline as well.
Yeah, I did too. And now one thing, and like you said, I agree. I love that. I love that they didn't over dramatize his dad's I would say adversity, not adversity, but his dad's um stubbornness in realizing the
Mm-hmm.
dream. I'm glad that it was, realistic, because sometimes, and his dad was like, it's not that I never wanted you to succeed. He's like, I just didn't understand how it was going to happen, and he didn't want him. He was basically not wanting his son to have a broken heart. So it wasn't just because I don't understand your dream that it's not going to happen. It was just he was trying to provide that reality of how do you go from a gamer, you know, literally playing this one video game, how do you go from a gamer to actually becoming a race car
Race car
driver?
driver.
And I think it would have been a little bit more. I think if he had been racing all along, like on the racing circle, or even working in a garage or something like that, like if he had been doing something in the racing world besides the video game, I think it would have been a little bit easier, for his dad to understand, that this is what he wanted to do. But literally, how the hell do you go from playing a video game to racing in the
To
biggest
racing.
race in the biggest races in the world, right? And so I got it. And like you said, there was never, and I appreciate that there was never any doubt, that his dad loved him. There was never any pitting him and his brother against each other or anything like that. It was just, I don't quite understand how this happens. And I want to save you from that heartbreak, it's good to have a dream, but they need to be based somewhat in reality, is what I got from it. um so I love that. I love the family dynamic, and like you said, you could tell that he was closer to his mom, probably. One of the things that I do know that was real, just in my limited research for today, was the car crash at the German race, the Nuremberg
Mm-hmm.
race.
Yeah.
That actually happened. And they had asked Jan why they would put that in there. He said because that really was a turning point. That was a moment of where you have to ask yourself, can I do this? Like that was where the reality of the danger sets in. What we were talking about before, how it can just be one random freak thing, him going over the hill in the undercurrent, just causing the car to spin out or something like that. Um, and so I appreciated it. I didn't think it was gratuitous. I thought, okay, because it was a moment where it's like you saw him, just because of an accident, and how guilty he felt because of someone that, the bystander, the spectator who lost their life because of the car and all of that. You saw him ready to kind of just like give it up. And I really thought that scene, that hit me in the feels. Like it wasn't gratuitous, it wasn't over the top, it wasn't overly dramatic. It was really like, what I was really like, what's he gonna do? How is this gonna turn out? Like, how are they gonna get him back in the car? You know, what did you think about that scene?
I do think that was the turning point, and I think it's really a great decision that Jan um allowed them to still put it into the movie, that it was pushed forward because it was very realistic. Like you hear it. Like I've seen it on movies. I've seen it on movies, but to actually know that that is what really happened, lets you know that race car driving is a very, very dangerous sport. It's a very, very dangerous sport. Um, but it's by luck. You never know when something is going to happen. And to think that he hurt himself and put himself in a hospital and didn't even realize that a bystander got hurt and ended up dying, right? And the guilt that he probably really, well, we saw that he felt, where he was on the verge of just wanting to give up because he couldn't handle it. And that takes guts. It takes guts to keep pushing forward. So I love that. I even love, like, there was a scene with I don't know the characters' names, but the guy in the rainbow car. And when he spun out and he spun into what was it? I think it was like trees or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so then his car is on fire, and all they kept saying is get out, get out, get out. Like he had to get himself out before the car completely like blew up because of all of the is petroleum, because of all the petroleum and just everything that goes into making those types of cars, and how dangerous it is if that car is to blow up. And you see him like finally like wake up, get out of the car, and then they rush over to pull him the rest of the way, and then the car blows up. Like, that's edge of your seat action. I don't understand how people can watch this movie and not see the edge of your seat action on this. Like, when you watch Fast and the Furious, I love the Fast and the Furious movies, but a lot of the stuff is very ridiculous. So, like, Fast and Furious used to be based in some type of reality, and now it's just completely bonkers on what they put out there that we know is not reality, but we
A
just feel,
Pontiac GT is not launching into space. Come on now.
huh? Yes.
A Pontiac GT is not launching into space. All right, let's
Definitely,
just.
definitely. Or even like just the simple things of there is no way you're driving and you're just gonna happen to be able to hook your car onto the crane and spin around and land on the other side of the mountain. Like, there's just no way that's happening in reality, right? But
Exactly. Or you're gonna go flying out the car and land on the hood and catch
land on the
somebody.
hood every time, every single time, right? But for this movie, there it was based in reality. It was based in things that happen all the time, right? And a lot of times it's not on the car blowing up and them getting ending up in the hospital, but they do spin out because I could not do it. I love driving, I really do, but I could not do it where you're sitting in that car and it's milliseconds of decisions that you have to make sure that you don't spin out, that you don't hit the person in front of you, that you don't get hit from behind you, that you figure out a way to get around. Like, it's just it was an amazing movie. And like, I don't think I've watched too many race car movies, but I will say just having the realistic like accidents and the car crashes that happen in the race car world happening in this movie, and being like, this is what really goes on. Like, this is what happens, and then you just pick yourself up and you go again. Like, there's you're not quitting, you go again. It's part of the career that you've chosen. And it's just it was really, really great. Like, it was really great to see, to experience. Even on the big screen, it was still great to experience.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me when I was younger, and just kind of date myself about how long ago it was. I remember like I said, I've dabbled in watching races, and I think it was a big race for Dale Earnhardt, and I was watching when he crashed, and it wasn't a fiery crash; it was a bad crash. But he happened to die on the day on the track at Daytona, and then his son Dale Earnhardt Jr. also gets in a wheel, knowing that and it's just that type of mental fortitude to be able to say, I want to do this thing, I love it, I grew up with it, but it's also the thing that took my father's life. And it goes back to what we're saying just about how dangerous it was. And I'm sure his parents were a little bit more involved with his recovery than what they showed in the movie. But I love when Jack got him out the hospital, or went and got him and said, "Come on, let's go." And he told him why, because that would have been one of the big things as they were getting closer. The one thing Jack would never tell him is why he quit. And Danny, who played Orlando Bloom's character, he's just like, "It's not my story to tell. You got to ask Jack." And so finally, Jack takes him and he tells him, "Hey." And I think it's also about the time that they find out that they were cleared in an accident, but in order to let them continue racing, um, because a lot of people at that point were saying, "Oh, we told you video game drivers shouldn't be video or gamers. This is a real. It's not a game." Some people, even though he was cleared and it wasn't his fault, they were trying to blame it on the fact that he was a gamer, and so now um, it was just crazy. But yeah, I love that Jack took him to the rate, took him back to the spot, and they drove it and they talked and took him and they had that talk right at the spot where it happened. And he finally told him everything that had happened with him at Le Mans. And so yeah, it was crazy. But I loved that part. That was one of my favorite scenes. One thing I was kind of good on though, I don't know how I felt about it, is that I, I have mixed emotions about the love interest in the love scenes. I'm glad it wasn't a bigger part of the movie, but I think I'm taking a page out of your book. It almost felt unnecessary.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna say something that may be a little controversial. Okay, if you're not black, I had a problem with her being white. I don't think I would have been as nonchalant and been like that was not necessary or whatever if she wasn't a white girl. I don't know.
Well,
I just felt like it was so basic to me. And
well,
it wasn't basic necessarily on because she was white. It was just like it just seemed so basic. And I think that just the society that we live in, it would have hit different if you know what, not even her being black. It would have hit different if she had been any other race. I'm just gonna put that out there. Like I think it would have hit a little bit different if she had been any other race. And one reason why I feel that way is because being so like I have an interest in like British politics and everything like that and the diversity of Great Britain. Like there's a lot of diversity in Great Britain. And I was just like, okay. I was just like that just it didn't hit anything. I was just like, okay. Like if they had deleted that, it wouldn't have made no difference to the story. It
yeah,
really
and
wouldn't.
so and it didn't bother me her being white or whatever. That wasn't my thing. It was like I, I was like, okay. And again, I didn't have the chance to do the research I would normally do. Um, but I was like, I remember thinking, okay, is this kind of like the Nuremberg thing? Is this his way of just paying tribute to his girlfriend or his wife or whomever she was that was there for him at the time? Like, and if that's the case, if that was just him saying, hey, this is
Was she a
an
real
honor,
character? Like was she real?
that's what, yeah, that's what I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't have the opportunity, to research it like I normally would have. So if she truly was a real character and his girlfriend at the time and someone who helped him through and was there supporting him, I get that. I still think if that was the case, they could have added a little bit more drama or a little bit of something to the role to make it more than just what it was. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But if she wasn't someone who was real or was not a real character, then they could have cut that part out altogether. Because it didn't necessarily take away from the story, but it didn't add anything to the story. It was almost unnecessary unless the role was there specifically because he wanted to pay tribute or include her as someone who was special to him in his life at the time. And she may very well be his wife. I have no idea. So uh I was just like, yeah, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. Does that make sense?
Yes, I agree.
So I don't know like who she was or if she was real or what have you, but I was just like, yeah, this
We
is
didn't need her.
not.
We didn't need her. We didn't need her.
Yeah. So yeah. So it's kind of that part to me. And I guess maybe if they had given her something more to do, maybe if she, I don't know, it 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 just, yeah, that was the one thing I was like, okay, I kept, whenever they were around, I kept waiting for something more to happen, like, you know, it it just, and I'm not saying, like, again, I don't know enough about the character whether she was real or not, but it's just like, at that point you could have added a little bit more drama regardless if that's the story you're going to tell, because it was too easy. Like, you had calls, whatever, you could, I mean, if that's the case, you could have shown her as being the person he was interested in the night before he left, just showing what his life was like before, you know? And then when he gets to the racing school at the time when they were just texting, and that was fine. But then she could have just shown up at Le Mans. Like, we didn't need the whole thing about her in Japan and the extra scenes and all that, because it made no sense. It was just like, what is this? At that point, those scenes actually felt like just filler, because there was no true purpose to it. You know, so yeah. But other than that, I I really really enjoyed it. What about you? You got anything else to add? Anything else you want to say?
No, it was really, really good. And I don't know, I would hope that people of different backgrounds, ethnicities, races, would just see a really, really good movie, and also get interested in race car driving and just what that career like has to offer and everything like that. Like, get excited about it, because I know there are certain like sports, and it's not the only one, where there's not enough of a presence of us, but also of people of different ethnicities and races. And so this would be a really good movie just to see the excitement of it, to get people really excited and actually interested, and maybe seeing if that could be a possible thing that they can do with their life.
Yeah, um I think Bubba Wallace is like the only black NASCAR driver.
Isn't
Or
Lewis Hamilton half black?
Lewis Hamilton is not. Uh,
He ain't black?
he's black, but he's not NASCAR. He's more Formula One Grand Prix racing.
Okay, it's too late in the game. We can't have this discussion, but go ahead.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, he races a different type of car on different type of track. Yeah. But it's not. Yeah. So I when you said that, it just made me think. But yeah, Bubba Wallace currently is the only uh NASCAR driver. Um, and Lewis Hamilton is, I believe Jann Mardenborough is still racing. Um, so he and Lewis Hamilton, and of course Lewis Hamilton is more well known, but now hopefully Jan is getting some shine because of the movie and his story. But yeah, I agree with you. Need some more diversity, and I was just thinking that too. Um, I'm thinking it needs more women, and I'm sure Danica Patrick could have some stories to tell about the shit she went through, just
Oh,
getting
I
up
can't
to
wait till they
NASCAR
do a movie.
and driving and all of that kind of stuff. And I would love it, because I still think this is a sport that women can drive just as well as men. And and they were saying, oh, she can't drive because she's not a man, like whatever. But yeah, so like you said, that's probably a whole different story for a whole different day. But yeah, I would love to see the Danica Patrick story. I think it would be interesting to see. um, just like I said, a lot of the behind the scenes shit that she had to go through, even making it all the way up into the NASCAR circuit and all of that kind of stuff. All right. Well, I think that does it. How are you rating this puppy?
I am going to rate Gran Turismo 4.5 popcorns. When I tell you, the edge of my seat, and probably the only thing that brought it down to point 0.5 is what you mentioned, which is like the love story was nonsensical. Like, it was not needed. And that whole thing, like, we could have done without it. Like, I understand if it was part of his life at the time, but it added nothing to the story. So 4.5 popcorns. I suggest that everybody goes and watches it. You will be on the edge of your seat, especially if you are a fan of racing movies. What about you, Eddie?
Yeah, I'm not far off. I give it a 4.25 popcorns. It was very good. I truly enjoyed it. Um, Gosh, I want to say, did I go to the bath? I don't even think. I think I had to go to the bathroom, and I just held it because I didn't want to miss an important part of the movie, and it's one of those that I can't wait to add it to my collection. And it's doing pretty well. I think it's beaten Barbie at the box office the last couple of weeks. So, you know, I and it's also one of those movies that I hate that it got caught up in the whole writer strike. I think
Yeah, they
it
couldn't
probably
really push for it.
yeah, I think it would have done better if the cast and crew were able to get out and support it and promote it, and because they deserve some shine for it. They deserve some flowers because they did a really really good job, and it was a really good movie. So anyone who sees it and sees Gran Turismo and thinking, oh, this is a video game movie like Super Mario or something
It's
like that,
not.
it's not. It really isn't. It is really really good, and I highly recommend that you check it out. Even I know probably within the next month or so, 2 months, it'll be on a streamer or whatever. Check it out on a streamer, whichever one gets it. Just watch the movie. It's really really good, and you will be happy that you did. All right. Well, I guess that does it for this week's episode. Please be sure to uh, listen, subscribe, save, bookmark, comment anywhere where you listen to your favorite podcast. You can also keep up to date on the latest in entertainment pop culture news, as well as all the other amazing goodness, kernels of pop culture goodness at thepopcornwindown.com. That's it. That's the plug. Pop, 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 pop. And thank you as always. And be sure to join us next week. I cannot wait for this one. When we review Denzel Washington in The Equalizer 3. I'm so excited. I know you've seen it already, right?
Of course, it's Denzel.
Yeah. I did a double feature when I did Gran Turismo. Thank goodness I did because, I got sick right after. But
Yeah.
so anyway, I cannot wait to talk about Equalizer 3 and see how it kind of compares to the other two and if this is the last one in the Equalizer series. So, um, until next time, I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy. Bye.
Peace.